Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host as always, Daniel Levi, your co-host Shaq. We're going to be talking UFC London, Fabricio Werdum versus Alexander Volkov. And man, back to the Fight Pass early cards.
Yeah, UFC London, man, it's a pretty underrated card. Alexander Volkov has the opportunity to come in here and do what not too many people have done, which is take out Werdum. Werdum's one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, one of the most well-rounded fighters in the heavyweight division's history. And I mean, from what Volkov was going through a few years ago to where he's at now, I mean, it's a complete night and day change. And if he can get this upset, that'd be huge.
Man, it would be absolutely massive. I mean, especially considering the path that he's taken from his Bellator days. He's come a long way, but if we really want to find out where he's at, you put him in there with a guy like Fabricio Werdum, and we're going to find out firsthand. There's not going to be any questions after this fight, Shaq, so I can't wait to find out. And before we break down this whole card start to finish, just want to give a quick shout-out to my Georgia State Panthers for getting in that March Madness with the huge upset. And, you know, it's funny, Shaq, because when the UGA Dogs, when the Bulldogs lost in that tournament recently, you know, everyone's giving us shit. Oh, Georgia this, Georgia that. I didn't go to UGA in Athens, Shaq. I went to Georgia State in Atlanta, so you know what I'm saying? The Panthers represented me all day, bud.
And let's see if they can represent you against the number 2 seed.
You know, it's funny because they're the number 15 seed, just like my boy Eric Shelton was on Tough when he went in there and upset that Russian Yobi Sherbatov. And we won't talk about Eric Shelton's UFC stint, but let's just talk about that time when he was number 15. He upset the number 2 seed.
Yeah, man. And Georgia State had an upset not too long ago against Baylor, like 2, 3, 4 years ago, so they've done it before.
Yes, they have, and another announcement we got to make is we will be sponsoring Bellator co-main event fighter Emmanuel El Matador Sanchez for his co-main event fight versus Sam Sicilia on the Fedor Emelianenko versus Frank Mir card. You know, Manny's always been a guy we bet on every single fight, because as you know, Shaq, whenever Manny Sanchez fights, it's max bet season. The guy's a consummate winner, and now it's awesome to be part of Team Matador.
Yeah, it's a big fight against Sam Sicilia, a former UFC vet, and if he can get this win, you know, he's right there for a title shot. He's been knocking on that door for a long time, and now it's time for him to go out here and smash Sicilia and actually solidify it.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, it's one thing, you know, to take the monies from the bookies every year, you know, basically every month. But sometimes you got to give back. And that's exactly what we're doing here. It's an honor to be sponsoring a guy like Emmanuel El Matador Sanchez. So make sure you check him out April 28th. And also, up until his fight, get 15% off any Best Fight Picks package. Go to bestfightpicks.com and use the promo code MATADOR to save 15% off any Best Fight Picks package. Bestfightpicks.com, maxbetseason.com. Shaq, let's do this whole card start to finish, my man, because first up in the lightweight division, we got Nasrat Haqparast. He's minus 145, and the comeback on Narimani is plus 125. Now, it opened minus 120 apiece, and now some action has come in on, you know, the one-fight UFC vet, Nasrat Haqparast, but it's interesting I call him a vet because the real vet here is Narimani. I mean, this kid's been around the block. He finally gets that UFC debut. Who you got in this one?
Nasrat, you know, I liked what I saw from him against Marcin Held. I actually bet on him in that fight, plus 350. You know, he was just a little bit too experienced, never been in there against someone on that level. And I thought he fought well. You know, I actually favored him against Alex Reyes. I thought he was going to catch Reyes with a straight left at some point. But this fight's a lot different because Nad's more experienced. He's definitely been around the block. He's already faced defeat a couple times. And he comes from that Cage Warriors promotion. We know Cage Warriors puts those guys through an extensive career before they get to the UFC. And he's had that extensive career. Trains at Team Alpha Male, so he's around, you know, Emmett Elkins, Philly, you know, the right type of people. And it's going to be a tough fight. You know, it could be another case where Nasrat's maybe a little bit too inexperienced. But I do think Nasrat is going to be a good prospect moving forward. But I think Narimani's a featherweight. I think he's moving up, and I think he's going to be a little too small here, and I think he's going to fill the shots. Now, if he can put on an absolute MMA clinic against Nasrat, that's one thing. But let's not forget, on the local scene, Nasrat had some wrestling as well. So I think he'll be able to definitely hold his own on the feet. On the mat, it's a 50-50 fight, kind of leaning toward Nad's way. But I think Nasrat will do enough to get the job done just by landing the more cleaner, effective shots on the feet.
Yeah, it's interesting because at first I was under the impression that Narimani, he's taking this fight on a week's short notice. Who knows what kind of shape he's in? But we did our research, and the kid's been an alpha male for a very long time. He's in great shape, so he was ready to get that UFC call. And the guy's a consummate professional. I mean, you recall his fight against the very hyped Paddy Pimblett, and he went out there, absolutely demolished him in a 5-round affair. So, this kid, Narimani, can go the 5-round distance, no problem. He's faced defeat, like you mentioned. The issue here is that, listen, man, there's weight classes for a reason, and short notice, up a weight class, and we got to see this guy back at 145 with a full camp. And with Nasrat, I know he's green, but he's the kind of green where...
It's a good green.
It's like that purple green. No, but it's that good green where I can see him making big improvements every single fight. You know what I'm saying? I can see him coming back like a completely different guy because the kid's only 23 years old, and word on the street is he went to King's MMA when he was 18 years old. He's in there sparring with guys like Benny, guys like Rafael Dos Anjos, taking jiu-jitsu lessons with guys like Fabricio Werdum. So, Nasrat's been around the block himself, and he had a very impressive UFC debut. I know, losing to Marcin Held doesn't look good, but you gotta put yourself
for his experience level. It ain't bad.
You gotta put yourself in the kid's shoes, man. I mean, taking that fight on short notice against a guy who he probably grew up watching, and he dropped that guy multiple times throughout the fight. It was just a matter of getting laid on at the end of rounds.
And the ref with his string on his shorts.
Oh yeah,
when he rocked him.
That was
he
bad.
Kind of got backdoored, but I think Nasrat's got a good future moving ahead. And let's just put it this way: if him and Marcin rematched, you know who I got.
You know who'd be taking a canvas nap there. But look, Narimani's got a very bright future. I'm glad to see him in the UFC. I'm gonna go with Nasrat Haqparast by decision on this one, but it should be a very intriguing and entertaining battle. Now, next up in the heavyweight division, we got Dmitriy Sosnovskiy. He's minus 275, and the comeback on Mark Godbeer is plus 235. Now, Shaq, Godbeer's back, and it's interesting because Sosnovskiy hasn't fought since about 2014, 2015. He's coming off a big layoff, but as you know, layoffs haven't really mattered these days.
Yeah, Mark Godbeer, my thoughts on him, and he's one of these guys where I don't think he's really good in any specific area. I just think he's good at getting after it. He's a tough Englishman. He's coming there he'll block punches with his face, and if he can beat you at that game, then he'll win. But let's be honest here, the overall picture is I don't think Godbeer's skills are up to par to compete. Not say compete, but to succeed at this high of a level. I think Dmitri's got a way better tie-up game, a top game, takedowns, and we look at Mark Godbeer's history in the wrestling department. Got taken down by Walt Harris, not just taken down, mounted. You know who you don't want to let mount you? Dmitriy Sosnovskiy or whatever his name is. This guy is brought up under Alexei Olenek. My boy Alexei, the boa constrictor. This is his #1 protege. Been training under this guy since he was a kid. And when I talk about ground and pound masters, Dan, Dmitriy is the definition of that. The second Dmitriy gets on top of you, he's looking to smash your head in the mat. And, Godbeer, he does have an advantage in experience. He does have an advantage in the fact that Dmitriy hasn't fought in 3 years. And, with these Europeans, that is a little, not red flag, but it's a little skeptical because what's been going on those 3 years? Have you been trying to get some Eldonium out your system, or have you been, what's going on? So, I have my questions about him as well, but I definitely got Dmitriy in this fight as far as the skills goes. I just think the takedown will be there, and I think a guy like Dmitriy, when he gets on top, is just going to be too much for Godbeer. I just don't think Godbeer has the stand-up skills to capitalize. I see Godbeer blocking punches with his face, and, he beat Daniel Spitz, but let's be honest here. Spitz took that fight on less than a week notice and took him down. That 6'7" long body took him down. What do you think the Sambo guy from the Ukraine, is going to do? So I think Dmitri's going to get consistent takedowns here. I honestly think this fight's going to be over in 1. If the fight goes 3 rounds, it definitely gets a little sketchy considering that, his cardio hasn't been tested in the last 3 years. So, that is kind of a red flag, but I'm going to go with Dmitriy by ground and pound stoppage.
Yeah, look, we don't know what Dmitri's been up to the last couple of years, but this ain't a case like Kazangana where it's multiple injuries.
He's 28 years old.
Surgeries, all these things. They come back looking rusty, and this isn't a case where a layoff should matter because the kid's only 28 years old, and at heavyweight, it's interesting because the heavyweights don't get into their prime until about their 40s, but this kid's 28, and with his style, we know Godbeer's weakness. We know Godbeer can't stuff a takedown to save his life. I'll tell you what, though, when you take Godbeer down against certain guys, he's attacking leg locks, but when you're on the level of a guy like Dmitriy Sosnovskiy, he should be able to take him down past that guard, full mount, and pound him out. And, obviously the thing you'd be worried about is that he does kind of charge head first on the feet, but Godbeer charges head first too. Godbeer has slightly better stand-up, but the thing is when Godbeer's got you hurt, it's not like he's got that killer instinct to go in there and finish the fight. He kind of is surprised when he hurts you. You saw that fight he had in the UFC when he won against Daniel Spitz. The only reason he won is because Daniel Spitz gassed out completely 4 minutes into the fight, and Spitz took the fight on about a week short notice coming off the couch. You could tell. And between you and me, like you said, they rematch. We both know who's going to win that fight. So I'm going to go with Dmitriy Sosnovskiy via ground and pound TKO, probably in the first round also. Now, next up in the lightweight division, we got Stevie Braveheart Ray. He's minus 170, and the comeback on Kajan Johnson is plus 150. Now, shout out to Kajan Johnson, man. He went out there and knocked out a top 20 guy in his last fight. Now he's got Stevie Ray. Who you got?
But going into the Adriano Martins fight, I definitely wasn't high on Kajan at all. But after, man, that was an effective strategy. Guys, what do we preach on the show week in and week out? Weasels win long term, and Kajan put on a straight weasel performance against Adriano. He spooked him out. He didn't engage, and Adriano got frustrated. And, he made a mistake doing coming in, and he got caught. I definitely think Stevie Ray's lacking in the speed department, but I definitely think he's probably a little tougher, just because, we have seen Kajan's history in the past. But my thing with Stevie is, man, he's really slow inside the pocket when he's throwing punches. His takedown defense isn't the best. I actually had higher thoughts of him. Moving forward, I do have my doubts on if he's going to last in the lightweight division. And Kajan's, I think he's got a big speed advantage, even at his age. I think he's 35, 36. He's been knocked out
a million times.
5 or 6
times. 2 broken jaws. You know what I'm saying? So, both of these guys are a little hard to trust, but I trust Kajan more, actually. And I think Kajan's going to get the job done at the underdog price. And, like I said, I think Stevie Ray's best days are behind him. Like I said, I think he's a tough guy, but Kajan's got overall skills. It's like, if Stevie can put pressure on him and, give him nowhere to run and touch his chin, then, that's one thing. But I don't think Stevie has the power in his hands to do that, and I don't think he's got the speed, the punching speed to do that. I think Kajan's going to circle all across the octagon, frustrate him, get Stevie to do something stupid, and I think he's going to run into something. Now, I don't think he's going to finish him, but, Kajan will get right back to the running away, weaseling out a decision, and everyone that bet Stevie might be very upset because Kajan fought like a pussy. But like I said, weasels win long term, and shout out to Kajan for that weasel performance against Adriano. Yeah, look, if Kajan can go out here and recreate that history and do that again, then holy shit, man, because that would be super impressive. And, I think the deal with Stevie Ray is kind of the deal with a lot of these Cage Warriors guys. They had way too much experience in Cage Warriors. They went through the ringer. They had those 5-round wars. They had those trilogies. And by the time they get to the UFC, they're damaged goods, man, and they just don't perform on the same level that they used to. And it's kind of almost sad.
Hot chocolate.
It's sad saying that about a kid that's 27 years old because Stevie Ray was born in 1990. You know what I'm saying, Shaq? But, speed is speed. And we saw that fight against Joe Lozon. I was there in person. I had a bet on Stevie Ray thinking this was going to be easy money. And, props to him for getting the job done. Thank you for the money. But, man, he was literally operating on the same frequency as Joe Lozon. That was very alarming. Now with Kajan, I've never been high on him either, and one could say his last fight was a fluke, but the thing is, it's not like he just randomly caught him. Up until that point, he was developing a story. He was making Kajan...
You could just see it. You could see it unfolding in front of your eyes.
He was making Adriano fall into his trap, and he made him play his game the whole time. As my boy Alex Hernandez that just beat Benny said, he fought to my cadence, you know what I'm saying? That's what he made him do, man. So... this is a tough fight for me to call because I also see a situation where, how in that Kajan Adriano fight, up until the knockout, it was somewhat close. It might have been 1-1 heading into that third round, right? And we know with these UK judges, if this goes all three, man, they're probably going to give it to Stevie Braveheart Ray. He's from Scotland, man. That's right next door. So, it's just about Stevie making it somewhat close, and Stevie has the knack for making it close. Now, I was completely wrong about Stevie Ray. He's not going to be some top 15, top 20 guy like I thought, because, let's be honest here. When you give a 26, 27-year-old guy matchups against Ross Pearson, matchups against Joe Lozon, matchups against all these guys, you expect him to go out there and not just win, Shaq, but win emphatically, and he's barely scraping by. There were judges that score those fights for Lozon and Pearson, just to, you know what I'm saying? So... yeah, it's going to be tough. I'm going to go with Stevie Ray by split decision, and it could get hairy at times. And if you're betting Stevie Ray, please exercise caution because it's going to be a sweat. Now, next up in the light heavyweight division, we got Magomed Ankalaev. He's minus 620, and the comeback on Paul Craig is minus 460. Now, Shaq, we were thinking about max betting Magomed Ankalaev, and unfortunately, when the line dropped here in the States, it opened at minus 410, but I know our VIP clients in Europe and Australia were super happy with the advance notice of Ankalaev. We let them know 2 weeks out to absolutely hammer the Ankalaev line before it became unplayable. They were able to hit Ankalaev big at minus 188, at minus 200. Now we see the line upwards of minus 600, and we need to be careful these days, Shaq. Our European and Australian VIP members are pounding these lines before our American members. Come on, guys. Save a little piece of the Euro Fight Night pie for us. Save a little bit of that easy money for your American friends. And look, we know the new odds maker is a little slow with the European fight nights. The good news is for the next card, UFC 223, the full card odds are already released. So if we decide we want to ruin another line, which you damn well know we will, how about we let you know right before we do it? Let us tell you to max bet Ketlin Vieira over Kat Zingano at minus 120 before the line hits minus 200. Let us tell you to wait for Sean O'Malley to hit dog money when he opened as a minus 260 favorite and closed at minus 140, Shaq. Let us tell you not to bet Frankie Edgar over Brian Ortega. Let us tell you to absolutely fucking pound Max Holloway as an underdog to Jose Aldo in Brazil. Sound good? Hit us up, bestfightpicks.com, maxbetseason.com. Send us a message, bestfightpicks@gmail.com. Let's get this fucking money. Now, Shaq, Magomed Ankalaev versus Paul Craig. Who you got?
And this is exactly what I was talking about last podcast about my, VIP package. The best of both worlds. You get access to two of the sharpest minds in the game. You get both of our picks, and like I said, that pre-advance notice. My clients out in Finland and Australia and in the UK, they knew over 2 weeks in advance, hey, when Ankalaev comes out, you better hammer this. This is easy money, and congratulations to all those guys. I'm going to go ahead and wish them well, and I think they will get the win. I think Paul Craig does not belong in the UFC. Look, I'm sure he's a tough guy. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but when you keep making the consistent same mistakes, keep throwing the lead low kick every single combo to start off, we all know how to beat a lead low kick. Then you throw the straight punch right down the middle, and especially at the speed at which Paul Craig's throwing that low kick, I just see too many openings. I think as long as they stand, at some point, the opening will present itself. He just makes too many mistakes, chin wide up in the air. His wrestling sucks. I mean, he's a pull guard type of guy. He's looking to go for low percentage moves like going for arm bars and things like that. And I think Ankalaev has the aspect and has the edge in every aspect of the game. And I think he's a good prospect moving forward. And, I actually think he's better than a couple guys Paul Craig's been in there with, especially like Enrique De Silva and
Khalil Roundtree.
And, both those guys are complete frauds. And, just put it this way. If Magomed Ankalaev fought Khalil Roundtree, it'll be a quick season, just like we told you Khalil would do his last fight. But like we said, VIP, you get that pre-advance notice. There's nothing better than 2 weeks out in advance, knowing your plans of what you're going to do going into the card. And like I said, shout out to all my European friends, and go ahead and cash that max bet on Ankalaev.
Yeah, congrats to you guys, because this hopefully is one of the only times where you guys ruin a line that we don't get to play.
And by the way, the U.S. books should be completely ashamed of themselves for the performance they had this week. Now, granted, I know they probably don't give a fuck about these cards anymore since our good friend Nick Kalikas is gone. So maybe that's the way things are going to start trending, but it was completely disgusting. We need Nick Kalikas back. We need lines on time, and it was just disgusting what they did.
Yeah, and I see people sharing the hashtag I created, hashtag bring back Kalikas, and use that because, shout out to my boy Nick Kalikas. Not only did he drop the odds in a reasonable time, but he would also drop the totals at the same time as the odds, Shaq. So, we miss our boy Kalikas, and some people didn't know how good they had it until he was gone, but I always had the utmost respect for my boy Nick Kalikas. Now, as far as this matchup's concerned with Magomed and Paul Craig, look, Paul Craig is a very undeveloped fighter. I mean, the guy's going in there, he's pulling guard, he's going for head and arm throws. It's like, dude, this ain't the chick division. You know what I'm saying? You can't be.
Guys, these things don't work in the game. Head and arm throws for the male. Look, it would be one thing if he was a 115-pound chick, but come on, these things don't work. It's gonna get exposed. We're talking about Magomed Ankalaev, the prized possession of the Goretz fight team in Russia. This is a Katarov guy, by the way. This ain't just a fight for them. This is an ordeal for them. And I just think he's going to smash this guy. Look, Paul Craig's a tough guy. His debut was good, but like I said, guys, that shit don't work at this level.
If you think you're going to come out here and pull guard or judo throw a Russian, have at it, my friend. Go for it.
It's one thing if it was like fucking, and he won't even do it to Muslim Salikov either, even though, he's a welterweight. But I'm giving you that example, you know what I'm saying, where even an older Russian towards the tail end, this is a young, fresh Russian that ain't taking any damage.
And this is a Sambo Russian. Exactly. This is a guy that's going to get on top of Paul Craig, pound him unconscious.
Where's Paul Craig going to go to win this fight? He can't tie up with this is Ramazan Amim's main training partner. We're masters in the tie-up. He can't fuck with us on the ground, and I don't think he can fuck with us.
I'll tell you where he's going to go. He's going to go right back to the regional scene after this fight, Shaq.
Paul Craig, it's been fun. You're a tough guy, but look, facts are facts. I don't think he has the skills to compete in the octagon.
Barring some fluke submission, which you and I both know ain't going to happen, or if, Ankalaev twists his knee on the walkout, or pulls a Patrick Cote versus Anderson Silva, this should be smooth sailing. And as soon as Ankalaev gets on top, don't get me wrong, he's going to piece him up on the feet too. But as soon as Ankalaev gets on top, the fight should be over shortly after. So, Magomed Ankalaev is about to take care of biz here. Now, next up in the featherweight division, we got Hakeem Dawodu. He's minus 360, and the comeback on Danny Henry is plus 300. Now, shout out to Danny Henry on that fight of the night performance in his UFC debut. He had to overcome some adversity. He went in there, and he finished the fight, got that $50K paycheck, but now he's coming in there. He's welcoming Hakeem Dawodu to the UFC. Now, we've known about Hakeem Dawodu. I mean, he's been a top prospect since the kid was 2 or 3-0. Now he's in the UFC. He's taken a year off. And with a kid that age, I'd imagine he's been getting way better since that year off. And who you got in this one?
I've been a fan of Hakeem Dawodu down there in the World Series of Fighting for a long time. Definitely got good potential. And Danny Henry, great fight in his debut against Taymor's little bro. One thing to mention is Hakeem Dawodu ain't a 5'5" lightweight, firstly. And a 5'5" lightweight that had never been out the first round in his career, 6 first-round finishes.
Between you and me, that 5'5" lightweight is really a 5'5" bantamweight.
You know what I'm saying? So, it was a good fight, but make no mistake about it, Taymor needs to drop 2 weight classes and has no business being at 155. I think Hakeem Dawodu is super skilled offensively. I think he's a physical specimen. But I think, he does have the tendency to play around a lot. He likes to play with his left hand down, and he tends to, take overhand rights behind the ear. He's gotten away with it so far in every one of his fights. And, even when he hits the mat sometimes, he'll just straight up give his back just to get out of it. Granted, he's gotten away with it in every single fight, but long term, he will pay the price for that. Now, will Henry capitalize? Henry's like that workman fighter. You watch him on tape and you think, this guy fucking sucks. But then, when you get in there with him and he starts leaning on you and starts making you work, then it's a completely different story. So I feel like he's one of those type of guys, like what we like to call the typical workman fighter. But I think Dawodu does have the takedown defense to consistently keep this up. And I think if they stand inside and trade in the pocket, I think there will be a couple of hairy moments. I think Henry will land punches, but I do think Dawodu early on, you will definitely see, a clear advantage, which is the speed and the power, and I think Henry will definitely feel the shots early. I think it will carry on into the second round. I think Dawodu will win the first 2 rounds, and then third round, that's when it's going to start getting a little hairy. I think Dawodu will probably slow down a little bit, and we know how the workman fighter comes on strong in the end, and I think Henry will win the third round just by tying him up, getting a takedown or 2 possibly. But I do think Hakeem Dawodu will get his hand raised. He has been training at SBG. Not that matters or anything, but, he has been trying to make the necessary steps to improve his game. And I think he will edge out a decision here.
So he's been learning how to sell books like my boy John Kavanagh. So this is an interesting matchup because Hakeem Dawodu, for that first round and a half, the kid's going to put on a clinic here. And we know this. I mean, he operates on a different frequency than Danny Henry. He's much more athletic. He's much more skilled technically. It's just about is he going to play around like he did in some of his World Series of Fighting fights where, you know, he got such a big lead and then he starts fighting with his hands down, then he starts taunting, then he starts shooting for takedowns, you know, starts doing the whole bit. But at the same time, Shaq,
he won.
Not only did he win, but one thing we've noticed with these guys on the regional scene is they do fuck around a lot on the regional scene, but then when it's time to come to the UFC, they straighten up and they go ahead and they're like, listen, man, this is the UFC. I can't fuck around anymore. I can't jump off the cage. I can't, you know, shoot for takedowns and do all these things that I wouldn't normally do. Now I got to do what I'm good at, and that's the striking. That's exactly what Hakeem needs to do. He needs to keep this fight standing and pick apart the much slower Danny Henry. And when it gets to that late second round, when it gets to that third round, don't let this guy grind on you. Don't let this guy take your back. Don't let this guy get on top of you and pound you. So, you know, as long as Hakeem stays on his P's and Q's, I think he's going to get this one done, man. I think he's going to make a very impressive UFC debut. I think he's going to move some heads, turn some heads. I think people are going to be like, oh, shit, who's this guy? So, yeah, I got Hakeem Dawodu for the victory.
All right, guys, UFC 223, one of the biggest cards of the year in Brooklyn, New York. So many good fights. I mean, we got the Rose-Joanna rematch. We got Khabib and Tony Ferguson, Felder and Iakenta. Some other good fights as well. And, I mean, guys, I know you guys saw our results for UFC 222. Dan, you want to go ahead and tell them the results of that again?
Yes, sir.
Or tell them just the results of the last 3 events.
Well, obviously, if they haven't been listening, we're 3-0 the last 3 events, all clean sweeps, undefeated. Last event, UFC 222, I went 3-0 for plus 9.17 units. Shaq went 3-0 for plus 8.17 units. The max bets on Ketlin Vieira at minus 120, Shaq. Cashed.
Not minus 220.
Minus 120. The max bet on Zach Otto at minus 240 cash. Not minus 440, minus 240. And, you know, I had a nice 3-unit play on Sean O'Malley at Dog Money. You had a nice 3-unit play on Cody Stamann. And undefeated night.
And make no mistake about it, UFC 223, it's going to be a similar night. Another historic night for best fight picks. And, guys, like we said, we get the job done on a consistent basis. You remember in the beginning of this, when you guys all doubted me and you guys thought, you know, maybe it wouldn't work out. But like I say, every week, long term, I get the job done. And those are the facts. Now, guys, I need you to go to the website if you're interested. If you're a guy that's still on the fence, you're still contemplating, you're still wondering if I'm legit or if I'm full of shit. I'm legit, by the way. You know, guys, it's time to sign up. It's not that hard. I give you the play and you win, plain and simple. So go to bestfightpicks.com, use that code Matador for 15% off any package. And like we mentioned before, shout out to Manny Sanchez taking on Sam Sicilia, April 28th, co-main event, Bellator, Paramount Network. And I think Sam Sicilia's in big fucking trouble. And we're coming for that title.
100%. So we'll see you guys in that winner circle. And it's funny, you know, people can write you off after 1 month, but they can't write you off after 3 years, Shaq. They can't write you off year in, year out, consistent winning results. And
ask any of my clients, when they cash this easy Ankalaev money, that's what it's about, the pre-advance, being prepared. And they knew over 2 weeks out in advance, hey, when Ankalaev opens minus 250 or less, be ready to go. And they were ready to go, and they'll cash.
And that's why the line is currently minus 610. You know,
because we know these things. We know that there's a chance, you know, these easy money fights get line close. And that's what we're talking about, guys. I mean what I say, and I say what I mean.
It opened minus 188 in the Euro and Australian book. So
now imagine if you're down there in Europe and, you know, you don't have the time, you're working, you got a job, you got kids, and you're not sure. You know Paul Craig's a jobber, and you're just not sure about this Ankalaev guy because you haven't had the time. That's what I'm here for. I'm gonna put in all the work for you. I'm gonna tell you 2 weeks out, a month out in advance. Hey, let's go, Ankalaev. Put fucking 7 to 10 units on this shit, and let's go. Fucking, that's what you get with Best Fight Picks.
And for our American clients that weren't able to get the Ankalaev line, we had something for them too.
My American clients will be always fine because at the end of the day, there are more U.S. fight nights and more U.S. pay-per-views. So my U.S. clients, we'll suck it up. We'll suck it up this week, but make no mistake about it. The bookies know we were going to hit them hard this week, and you know, they played it safe.
There's a reason why our 1 month clients, our 1 month VIP members, when their packages ran out, 95% of them re-signed up for a full year, Shaq.
Exactly. And, you know, I'm still waiting on a couple others to sign up. I mean, when you meet a guy that actually says what he's going to do, when you sign up for a 1 event package and he gives you 3 winning plays, you know what I'm saying? I mean, what else can you do?
Yeah. You cannot force a man to fight, Shaq.
Exactly.
So, welterweight division, we got Jack Marshman. He's minus 290 in the comeback on Brad Scott. or as we like to say in Brazil, Brad Scotch, is plus 245 now. It's an interesting fight, man. You know, I saw that they opened Jack Marshman in Europe and in Australia at plus 175, Shaq. I thought the line should have been flipped. And here in the States, for a second, he was plus 100. Now he's a minus 290 favorite, and rightfully so. But let me hear your breakdown, man.
Yeah, Jack Marshman, the Hammer, 500 fighter in the UFC so far. Brad Scott, 500 fighter in the UFC so far. But, you know, sometimes a lot of people can't see the difference in 500, fighter matchups, and they say things as if Brad Scott's a live dog, and I completely disagree. Jack Marshman's losses are only to who now?
Antonio Carlos Jr. and Thiago Marreta Santos.
And, we can say, oh, well, what about his takedown defense and this and that? Guys, hold on, Dan. How many career takedowns in the UFC does Brad Scott have? 2. Now,
the last one was in 2015.
And one of those takedowns was half a takedown because Dylan Andrews popped right back up. Any other time, tell me a time where you've seen Brad Scott shoot a takedown. Brad Scott doesn't wrestle. Brad Scott doesn't tie up. Brad Scott's a fucking kickboxer. He wants to go toe-to-toe. He doesn't tie up. He's a slow, trotting, plodding, ugly motherfucker. He's a big goof. You know what I'm saying? He's there to get hit. And I think, Marshman against someone else, with his previous fight like Zaleski, okay, then if you want to fade him there, that's one thing. But I don't think Brad Scott's a live dog. I think Brad Scott's on his way out. I'm going to go ahead and say it. If you guys go back and listen to his fight interview after the Scott asked him, fight when he won. Tell me if that's a mentally stable guy. You know what I'm saying? That guy's all over the place mentally. And before the Hermanson fight, he was already, having retirement questions. If he didn't beat Scott, ask him, he would have retired and went on and moved to plumbing. One thing you don't have to ask about Jack Marshman is if he wants to be in the UFC and if he wants to quit. That's something that will never cross his mind. So I just think it's a complete mental difference, firstly. And on the feet, I just think Brad Scott's too slow. I think his left hand's down. I think he's got a weakness for behind the ear, forehead shots, behind the ear shots, temple shots. And I think Marshman's going to get back to his, Welsh boxing ways. I think he's going to be a similar performance to the Magnus Siedenblad fight, just with a less sweat. I just think he's going to big left hook, big right hook, clean punches. If it goes 3 rounds, how many decisions has Brad Scott won, Dan?
I think 1, and it was against Scott Askham, and he barely won that shit.
So look, guys, if we're under the impression here that Brad Scott's some type of grinder, a tie-up master, or gets consistent takedowns for 3 rounds, I think you guys are seriously mistaken, and that's why I'm here to let you guys know these things. So I'm gonna go with Jack Marshman. I'm gonna go with 2nd round canvas snap, and Brad Scott, it's been a fun ride, but like I said, mentally, I don't think he's there. And dropping to this fight is at 170. I actually think Marshman needs to drop to 170. When you guys watch his fights, look at all that body fat. As where Brad Scott is in desperation mode. He's looking for answers. His last fight, he got smashed on. Imagine contemplating retirement, winning, and then going into that Hermanson fight. And I just think more of the same will happen. I got Marshman 2nd round canvas now.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Marshman as well. And first of all, Marshman's record when fights go to decision is 4-2. Brad Scott's record when fights go to decision is 1-3. So both these guys are finishers, So anyone that's under the impression that Brad's coming to grind this out, I don't know where they came up with that because he trains at the lab. That's why.
When does Brad grind?
He doesn't. Now Marshman's got 18 finishes, 13 of those via knockout, and it's safe to say he's a knockout artist, and one thing I like about him, specifically in this matchup, is his footwork. When you go and you watch the tape, the frequency that these two operate on is night and day. Jack Marshman's going to be so much faster than him because when Brad Scott's plodding forward and he's flat-footed and he's slow, he's got that left hand down, he's eating those behind-the-ear shots, and Marshman's bouncing all over the place, putting his combinations together, it's going to get very, very hairy for Brad Scott.
And, I hear a lot of people, well, what about the Ryan James fight? Guys, when you're fighting a 6'3", 6'4" scarecrow that, you could take a bat to his head and he won't get knocked out, sometimes it's a tough fight. And we've seen in James' career, everyone underestimates him and, they end up getting fucked up. So
tell me who slept James before.
Exactly. Who's knocked James out? So that's all I got to say.
Just because Ryan James looks goofy doesn't mean that he's not a tough out. And I know we called Brad Scott goofy, but it's a different kind of goofy.
Different goofy. Because Ryan James will fucking put a pace on you, as where Brad Scott's just a slow, plodding motherfucker. That's, you know.
Ryan James ain't contemplating retirement anytime soon. You know, Ryan James has a long career.
Go listen to him, his interview after he beat Scott. Ask him, I want you to comment in the comment section and tell me if that's a mentally stable motherfucker.
Yeah, and look, Brad Scott, it's been fun, man. You made it to the finals of Tough. You got to fight Whitaker. You got to go the distance with Rob back when he was at 170, back when he lost to Court McGee, Shaq. But
and it's just the same entries every time. Look, back in the day when he fought Krzysztof Jotko, same entries in every time. Slow potting, easy to time. It's just, you know, guys on that level are gonna. I think it's gonna be too easy for him, and I think the best days are behind him. It's been fun, Brad Scott.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see Marshman at 170. I think it's a good move for him. I always thought that, you know, he was one of these guys kind of like Kelvin, where yeah, he can compete at the higher weight class, but his optimal weight class would be at 170. You know, because like you said, man, all that body fat he's carrying around. But I love the way the guy moves, especially against this guy that he's fighting, Brad Scott, who is much slower, much plottier, and I'm going with Jack Marshman via knockout here. Now, next up in the welterweight division, we got Danny Hot Chocolate Roberts. He's minus 185, and the comeback on Oliver Enkamp is plus 160. Now, interesting fight. You think my boy Hot Chocolate's going to get back on track here?
You know, Hot Chocolate, his last fight was, you know, definitely a letdown for him. But who was that against? Dan?
Nordine Taleb.
Okay, thank you. And, you know, his fight before that, Bobby Nash. My thing with Enkamp is I'm not sure if Enkamp's ready for this level yet, man. Now, I think he's a smart kid. I think he's a sharp, bright kid. But skill-wise, you know, I think he's, well, as far as his weight goes, you know, I think he's one of these in-between guys. You know, I think he's a little too small for welterweight, but a little too big for lightweight. And skill-wise, man, you know, if you're just under the assumption that he's going to touch Hot Chocolate's chin and this is going to be over, you know, I think you might be in for something else just because, I mean, you know, it is Nordine Taleb, but look at his hands in that fight. Look at his tie-up work in that fight, Dan. It was shit I've seen better shit in the NFC down here in the local fights in Atlanta. That's all I'm saying. I feel like he could possibly be in there with guys on that level. Now, I'm not saying that he's not going to win this fight, but I just think there's a chance where he's still a little bit too young. He's still a little bit too green. Guys, what's up with that tie-up work in the Nordine fight? Now, look, I know Hot Chocolate got fucking smoked, but I think Hot Chocolate's got a big advantage in the tie-ups. I mean, we saw him fight a gorilla and Dom Still, and, you know, someone would counter me. Oh, well, Dom Still's a fucking jobber. Go look at the size of Dom Still in that fight, and go look at the size of Enkamp in that fight. It's just a complete difference. These guys are operating at two different frequencies. Enkamp's got that karate style, and, you know, look, guys, you know, it's cute, it's nice and all, but all that shit's so energy draining. It's all low percentage. The spinning head kicks, the spinning body kicks. He can throw all that he wants. It's going to drain him quicker. And when they tie up, I think he's going to get drained up quicker. I honestly don't think he's ready for this yet. Now, I'm not high on Hot Chocolate. I mean, I don't think he's going to hold his spot in the company. I'll go ahead and say that. But look, the guy Hot Chocolate, one thing Henry Hoof never has to tell Danny Hot Chocolate is to quit. You know, a lot of people on that team, they like to quit, but not Hot Chocolate. You know, Hot Chocolate will get knocked stiff, but
that Cam's fight IQ is very questionable. Look at my boy Andre Sukumtat.
Yeah, when you're fighting Mike Perry and you're fighting Nordine and you're fighting, you know, a gorilla like Dom Steele, you know, it's a different thing. I don't think Enkamp has those qualities. I definitely don't see him taking Hot Chocolate down. I see Hot Chocolate having the advantage in the tie-ups, the wrestling, the power, the punching power. And it's just a matter if, you know, Hot Chocolate gets flashed, honestly. If Enkamp can just flash knock him out, then that's one thing. I don't think so. And I don't think he's got an accumulation style at all. I think the intangibles in his game are missing. I think those need to be developed over time. And I think it's going to be an experience thing. I think it's going to be a winnable fight for people that bet on Enkamp. I think, like, man, it was there. You know what I'm saying? I think Hot Chocolate, he probably will wobble a couple times. But honestly, I think he's going to take care of business here and get his hand raised.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one, man, because Oliver Enkamp's got a lot of room to grow, man. I mean, you saw that fight against Nordine. I know someone is going to go on their breakdown and talk about, oh, this kid went the distance with Nordine, and Nordine knocked out Hot Chocolate as if that's an indicator. But you and I both know MMA math does not mean a damn thing.
When Nordine fought Enkamp, it was a scenario, I can't lose to this guy. You know what I'm saying? Imagine if Nordine would have lost to Enkamp. He shouldn't have even taken the fight in the first place. He risked everything taking the fight. Granted, he got out of it, but we already know what type of fight. Like we saw with Dariush and Alex Hernandez, you never take those type of fights. But then you see him when he actually actually gets up for a fight like Hot Chocolate, then you see what happens.
100%, and that's exactly what I was gonna say, man. You look at a fight like Alexander Volkanovski versus Shane Young, and it's
you're like finish this bump.
It's high risk, low reward. But then you see a fight like Alex Volkanovski versus Jeremy Kennedy, and it's high risk, high reward, and that's why he went out there and performed the way he did against Jeremy Kennedy. And in this spot here, man, I mean, you saw Oliver Enkamp biting on the fence hard against Nordine Taleb, and man, the tie-ups were ugly, and he's throwing a bunch of spinning kicks at the air. He's just not ready for this level. And look, after he takes this loss and he gets cut, we'd love to have him in the NFC. We'd love to book our top welterweight, Jared Gooden, versus Oliver Enkamp. A nice little win for Jared Gooden to get him that UFC call. So, after Oliver takes this L, someone put me in touch with his manager, and we'd love to set it up. So I'm going to go with Danny Hot Chocolate Roberts here for the victory. Now, next up in the middleweight division, we got Charles Byrd. He's minus 115, and the comeback on John, the White Mike Tyson Phillips, is minus 105. Now, Shaq, who you got in this one?
It's definitely one of these tough fights where I definitely got my questions on. Charles Byrd is, I think he's like 34, 35 years old. So, this is, pushing towards the Terry of hoorah fights and, final runs. And, John Phillips, I mean, this guy's been fighting on the local scene for a long time. John Phillips, a lot of people, look at his record and just automatically assume KO artist, he's probably going to knock Charles Byrd the fuck out. And, he might, you know what I'm saying? The line's definitely in range. The thing is, how many decisions has John Phillips won, Dan?
I believe 0.
0 decisions. And do you know how many first-round finishes he has out of those 21 wins?
20 first-round finishes.
Guys, now look, I say on the show all the time about waiting on a punch, and you're waiting on a guy to fall. Now, if you want to get into that, that's one thing. Sometimes it works out, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you do take advantage of things like that, you know what I'm saying? The thing is, if he goes past the first round, I got a good feeling in my gut that it's going to be hands at the waist, huffing and puffing, getting taken down easily, and getting choked out like I've seen him do in the past in the local scene, you know what I'm saying? So, look, definitely Phillips has a power edge. I mean, it's no fucking secret. The guy hits like a fucking truck and a half, and, if he fucking puts pressure on Byrd and gets him out of here early, congratulations. But this game's about efficiency. Sometimes fights don't end in the first round all the time. They got to go 3 rounds. And, I mean, this guy's been fighting been a pro since 06, and he ain't been a decision. So, I'm going to go with Charles Byrd here. I'm not confident by any means. I have seen Charles Byrd get a little wobbled on the local scene in the past. But, like I said, if he gets past this first round, I think he's going to run away with this, and I think he will get past the first round. I think the first round is going to be very scary. Just because, he hits hard, but I'm going to take the side where who's more efficient going into the later rounds.
Yeah, I'm going to go the opposite way, man. I'm going to go with John Phillips here. And like you said, maybe in a future matchup we can talk about fading John Phillips. But I think in this particular matchup, I mean, look, John Phillips is a guy that as soon as that bell rings, he's going to walk you down. He's going to throw big bombs. And if you get caught, you get caught. And 20 men did get caught, Shaq, in that first round. So, that has to say something about him, because it says that the guy's a professional finisher. Kind of like my boy Paul Daly. Paul Daly's got 30 wins by knockout. And this guy, John Phillips, has 20 first-round finishes. So, granted, if it gets past the first round and Charles Byrd starts wrestling him, then Charles Byrd will be able to take the victory. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think John Phillips is going to come out here. I think he's going to be able to touch the chin of Charles Byrd. I think he's going to get him out of there. I think it's going to be a first-round knockout. And then we can talk about fading John Phillips in the future when he fights a better grappler. But in this spot, man, I think John's going to put Charles away. So, John via KO. Main card time. We got Leon Rocky Edwards. He's minus 210. The comeback on Peter Sobotta is plus 175. What do you think?
I feel like Peter Sobotta's a hard guy to get a read on, man. One would say, I mean, he ain't fought anybody. One would say he beat fucking Ben Saunders and he beat Nicholas Dalby, who's not with the company anymore. But Leon Edwards been looking amazing. Wins over Vicente Tumenov. My junkyard dog, Barbarena. I mean, since he lost to Kamaru, I mean, he's gotten his shit together. He worked on his wrestling. He's turned into a D1 wrestler, essentially. I mean, now he's body locking guys with ease, muscling them down, and he's taking advantage. The thing is, my boy Peter Sobotta's got a Dean Lister black belt, and he's been a Dean Lister black belt for a long time. And I don't know if tying up Sobotta is the way to go. Now, on the feet, my thing with Leon is I definitely think he's the better fighter on the feet, 100%. It's just that, he tends to have these little 2-minute spurts where he, stops fighting and, he starts, squaring his stance and eating punches against the fence like he did in the Tomeno fight. The Vicente fight, it really didn't happen, but like the Barberena fight, he lost focus for a little while and he almost got knocked out. Thank God, he held on, but that shows me good qualities in Leon, man. I like his mindset. He's very confident. Like I said, Sobotta's just a hard guy to get a read on. You see him go out there. One thing he doesn't take any damage when he's fighting these jobbers. It's not like he's, you see how Juban and Saunders were fighting, Juban was winning, but see when Sobotta goes in there, Sobotta ain't looking to take any punches. He's looking there to go in there and take care of business, just like how he 30-26 Dalby. So I have the utmost respect for Peter Sobotta. It just sucks the one time I bet him, he wanted to take a knee to a front kick in Australia. But I'm going to go with Leon Edwards. I just think he's slightly better in more areas. The only area I see it being Sobotta's way is probably on the mat in the jiu-jitsu department, maybe in the ties. But on the feet, I do think Leon's going to land that left kick. And I think he's going to land the more effective shots. Now, I wouldn't be shocked if Sobotta got this off because this is another fight where it's not where you're like, why'd you take this fight? But what does Leon have to gain in this fight, honestly?
He should be fighting top 15 guys.
Exactly, he should be fighting a top 15 guy. Now you're giving Sobotta's looking at Leon like a steak, like this is my chance, you know what I'm saying? And it might not work out. These are the little sketchy fights. It's not that he shouldn't have taken the fight, but he shouldn't have taken the fight. He's beyond Sobotta at this point. And we'll see what happens. But I will go with Leon. I do have my doubts about it, but I just think Leon's got a mental edge. I think he's got better takedowns, better striking, better cardio, and it's just the little spurts of losing focus where I have my doubts. But I'm gonna go with Leon.
It's an interesting matchup. Look, I've been a Leon Edwards fan for a long time. I mean, he's made his UFC debut. I bet him against Claudio. His next fight against Seth Baczynski, I bet him there. His fight against Powell, I bet him there too. So, I have a really good feel and a read on Leon Edwards. But this one's tough to call. And look, Leon's come a long way. He came into the UFC as a surgical striker. He was kind of a technician. He was a sniper in there with his straight punches. And, he'd set up the head kick out of nowhere. But now, after that Kamaru fight, man, he's really gotten his wrestling chops on point. He's going in there wrestling with Russians. He's going in there taking guys from the lab down. He's going in there and making statements against guys like Vicente Luque. So Leon Edwards has come a long way. Now with Peter Sobotta, he's also come a long way because I don't know if people recall, people think he's 4-1 in the UFC, but he's actually 4-4 in the UFC because he had one UFC stint where he went 0-3. And since then, he cut his teeth on the regional scene. He came back, and shit, he's been fucking killing it, man. He's 4-1 on that recent run, despite that fucking Kyle Noak fight where
Noak was juiced out of his mind for that fight, but still,
But that was a while back, man. That was the same night Ronda lost to fucking Holly Holm. So who gives a shit? But at the same time, the last two fights for Peter Sobotta, he's looked incredible, man. That Nick Dalby fight, I know people like to act like Nick Dalby's some can, but let's be honest here. Nick Dalby beat Zaleski. Nick Dalby went to a draw with Darren Till. So, Nick Dalby ain't some can. It's just that he took so much damage in those fights that when it came time to fight Sobotta, Sobotta just put the icing on the cake and, got him out the UFC real quick. So, but now he's meeting Leon in Leon's prime, and my thing here is I want to see Leon get back to his striking ways in this fight because if Leon tries to body lock Sobotta, why roll around on the mat with a Dean Lister black belt? You know what I'm saying? And there have been times in fights where I have questioned Leon's fight IQ, even though he's a consummate winner. The guy's got a great UFC record. More often than not, he gets his arm raised. It's just about little questionable things that he does, in the midst of fights. So if he can be focused and be on point, I think he should take care of Sobotta here. But at plus 175, I think Sobotta's a live dog, man. And I don't fault anyone for taking that shot at all. For me personally, I'm going to pass. But, you know what? Fuck it, man. Let's go with Peter Sobotta for that upset, man. I think that he's plus 175. I think he's being a little bit overlooked in this spot. And much respect to Leon. I don't think he should have taken this fight. I think he should have waited for a top 15 guy. I won't be surprised to see Leon come out here and win. But I'll go with the upset. I'll go with Peter Sobotta. So next up in the bantamweight division, we got Tom Duquesnoy. He's minus 300, and the comeback on Terrion Ware is plus 250. Now, shout out to my boy Terrion Ware because Cody Stamen Sean O'Malley, and now Tom Duquesnoy. You know, the Terrion Ware experiment. I'll tell you what, he's going in there, he's fighting tough with all these guys that they're supposedly bringing him in to lose against.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely, we get the gist here. You know, they're definitely trying to set Terrion up for a third time in a row. And, you know, it's no secret that they're using him to test these prospects like Stamen, O'Malley, and now Duquesnoy, because Terrion's got a good enough record that it looks good, and he's gonna actually fight them where those guys don't have to worry about, you know, wrestling or anything like that. They can take him down, you know what I'm saying? So it's pretty clear what they're doing, and, you know, one would say it's disgusting, but it's the fight game. It's business. Look, Terrion's got to do something about it, you know what I'm saying?
Go in there and win, buddy.
Go in there and win. And firstly, I'm going to go ahead and say right here, I think Cody Stamen and Sean O'Malley are on a completely different level than Tom Duquesnoy. Now, I actually faded Tom Duquesnoy's last fight against Cody Stamen. And, you know, now look, I'm not going to get into his whole French this and French that. The thing is, I think offensively, you know, he's got a couple nice things. I like his lead elbows. I like his, you know, his low kick to high kick combo. You know, he's got a nice straight left. The kid can strike. But look, the first time things got tough for him, I'm actually not going to say that because he did have some tough fights in the local scene. But under the bright lights, under the bright lights of the UFC when it got tough, granted it was against the #1 prospect at bantamweight, you know, he straight up folded. He didn't fight back. The third round, he completely stopped fighting, plain and simple. And like I said, I think Stamen, as we clearly see, is a top 10 guy. O'Malley is a future top 15 guy in my opinion. And I don't see Duquesnoy having that career projection, bro. Honestly, I think he's going to be a fringe top 25 guy, maybe. You know what I'm saying? I just don't see him having that career projection, but that doesn't matter. Terrion Ware matters. And like I said, Terrion Ware landed punches on Cody Stamen. He lost, though. Terrion Ware fucked O'Malley up the second round. He lost, though. So it's a matter of Terrion he's got to do it, not almost do it. And unfortunately, he's probably going to almost do it again. I see this being a fight all the way to the end. Duquesnoy, I actually think that line, you know, I thought it could have been worse just because I thought people were going to parlay the shit out of Duquesnoy. But I think it's about right just because I'm assuming people are just counting on the fact that Terrion Ware is going to almost win. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, good luck to Terrion. I'll go with Duquesnoy by close decision. But don't be shocked if Terrion pulls this upset off because Terrion's got a real volume boxing style. And, you know, in the O'Malley fight, it was just a case of where he literally tried to finish him the second round, and he came out completely gassed in the third round, which is a mistake he shouldn't have made, especially for a vet like him. But I like his volume boxing style, man. Like, when he's in his boxing mode with his straight punches, as you can see in the Cody Stamen fight, like you saw in the O'Malley fight, he has success. It's just and I think he'll have more success against Duquesnoy, honestly. It's just a matter of doing it, you know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, I don't think he will. So I'll go with Tom, the French kid, Duquesnoy.
Yeah, look, man, you know, Duquesnoy, the kind of hype that this kid got coming into the UFC, the kinds of things people were saying was absolutely ludicrous. I don't even want to repeat some of the things people were saying to me about this kid, but I will say this. He's exciting. He's fun to watch. He's a finisher. And if he can front run, you know, for as long as possible, he's either going to front run long enough to get Terrion out of there, or he's going to front run long enough to win a decision and hold on in that third round. However, if he only has one round of front running in him, don't be surprised when Terrion starts putting the hands on the boy. So, you know, it's an interesting matchup because, you know, you don't want to write a kid off after a loss, but here's what I will say. You want to observe how the loss went down. Did he get caught or did he break? You know, when Vic fought Benny, you don't write Vic off after that fight. You just say, look, he got caught by a guy who was better than him at the time, and Vic will come back better. And guess what? He did come back better. He's on a fucking 4-fight win streak now against really tough guys. When Duquesnoy fought Cody Stamen, it wasn't a matter of, oh, he got caught and this and that. It was a matter of he threw literally everything he had at Cody Stamen. Cody ate it for about a round and a half. And then Duquesnoy was like, check, please. You know what I mean? Duquesnoy was like, all right, yeah, I want out of this fight. And, you know, he didn't respond at all to the adversity. And that's not a good thing because my boy Terrion, you saw that fight with Sean O'Malley. You know, first round he loses. Second round he starts putting it on Sean O'Malley. And Sean O'Malley had to dig deep to come in there and win that third round. And I'm not quite convinced that Tom Duquesnoy was able to dig deep like that. Look, I know he dug deep against Pat Williams, who, between you and me, many people consider to be the worst fighter on the UFC roster. So, yeah, dig deep against that guy, but against a guy like Terrion, who is as experienced as he is, you know what, man? I think there could be an upset here. It's going to be interesting. Maybe Duquesnoy really is the real deal, like you guys say. Maybe he can go out here and front run for 2 rounds and go out there and win the decision. But I think somewhere along the way, if he doesn't get Terrion Ware out of there, he will start to slow down, and the volume style of Terrion Ware will start to take over. So it's going to be interesting.
And by the way, I can name 5 bantamweight prospects better than Duquesnoy.
Do it.
Stamen, O'Malley, Boston Salmon, Ramos,
Brett Johns.
And Brett Johns.
There you go.
Right there.
Just name 5 bantamweight prospects way better than Duquesnoy. Look, he's fun. He's got nice high kicks. He's got nice flying knees. Elbows. He's got elbows. I mean, the kid throws some...
What happens if it gets tough, though?
It's like, when we were in love with Tomas Almeida, it's like, it was fun while it lasted. We had to learn our lesson that these kind of fighters, they don't make it to the very top. You know what I mean? They'll get knocked off. And Tom Duquesnoy doesn't have that heart to make it to the top 15, in my opinion, or at least the top 10. So... like I said, he might front run long enough to win this specific fight. But I'm rooting for my boy Terrion here. So let's see this upset, Terrion. Now, Shaq, before we talk about this co-main event of the evening, they can call us cocky, they can call us arrogant, but one thing they can't say is that we don't get the job done long term. Always have, always will. You see some of these other guys take a loss, and they can't handle the pressure of bouncing back. They delete their Twitter accounts and come back with a new name. They reset their records. They start betting other sports. This game is for big boys, Shaq. The reason we talk the way we do is because we take this extremely seriously, and we're super passionate about what we do. I take winning personally. I also take losing personally. And when you look at the numbers, there's no denying Best Fight Picks is number 1. Some claim to have better numbers than us. Please show us their entire records. We've seen it all before, Shaq. We've heard it all before. They either pad their records with fake 11-unit bets, which you and I both know is completely unrealistic, and that they don't actually bet that amount per unit. You got the after-the-fact guys that only post a ticket if they won. Or they use a tiny sample size to paint a picture that doesn't exist, and the rest claim to be up X amount of units, but only about 1/3 of their records are actually tracked. With Dan and Shaq, with Best Fight Picks and MMA Genius, there's not a single play that's not documented. There's not a single number that's not accounted for. You can't deny our numbers in any way, shape, or form. That's why we're in the position we're in. That's why we get the job done. That's why we're dedicated to growing your bankroll. We have a relentless determination to win. And if winning is something you're serious about, if making money is something you truly care about, send us a message. bestfightpicks@gmail.com, bestfightpicks.com, maxbetseason.com. Get on board. Because if there's one thing we can guarantee, Shaq, is that you will profit long term.
You need guys like us that are going to keep you away from those trap fights. I already see people falling into these trap fights for this weekend. Fights, where there should be no money on either side, you know what I'm saying? And that's why we're here, I'm going to keep you away from those trap fights. You need a guy in this game that has a feel for it, and you need a guy that has the record to prove it. And we're those guys, we don't have to bet the big fight of the weekend like a lot of people fall in the trap. So you don't have to bet, the main and co-main event. Most of our max bet winners are on the undercard. We have the edge for these little matchups that, if before I told you, I got a possibility, for example, for UFC 223. I haven't even told my clients out, but I know if I told them, they'd be like, "What? No, dude, are you serious?" Like that's the type of plays I give out. A lot of my clients, they question my plays. When I sent out the Brian Kelleher play, they were like, "Bro, are you sure? Hennon looked good on the scales."
When we sent out the Ket Levere minus 120 play, they're like, "Wait, you're fading a chick that beat Amanda Nunes and Miesha Tate?"
So, and you know what I'm saying? We explained every reason why we did that, just like we explained every reason why we had to fade my boy Hennon Brown. And for all my friends that are out there investing in that crypto, that stock market, that commodity trading, it's time to come hop over to this gold mine of MMA betting. I mean, guys, 3 undefeated events, all clean sweeps. I haven't lost a bet. I mean, I'm not sure if that's happening in that industry, Dan, but I'm going to go ahead and guess no. You know what I'm saying? And like we said, you don't have to do any work. It's not that hard. How do you communicate? Twitter, text, email, WhatsApp. You get to play and you win. Plain and simple.
Indeed. MaxBetSeason.com, BestFightPicks.com. Send us a message. BestFightPicks@gmail.com.
I mean, look, if you're serious about making money, if you're tired of your, annoying ass boss, you want to give him the finger and you want to drive off, you want more days off, or you want to fucking quit that job, I mean, I'm the guy for you. You know what I'm saying? If you're tired of getting trapped in these fights and you're on a rough stretch right now and you've been losing.
You're betting Frankie Edgar against Ortega.
Exactly. And you're betting Perry and Frankie Edgar in these fights, I'm the guy for you. I'm going to give you that fight where it's line close, that minus 120 max bet. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to give you lines like that. And as you can see, for my Magomed Ankalaev clients, of course, I wouldn't tell them to play it now at minus 620, but because they got that pre-advance, they know ahead of time. That's what this game's about.
That's why they hammered at minus 188 and minus 200.
That's why it's minus 620 now, you know what I'm saying? So shout out to all my clients, and I can't wait for us to get this win. Sign up, 15% off any package, code Matador.
Co-main event of the evening. We got Jimi Manuwa, he's minus 200, and the comeback on Jan Blachowicz is plus 170. Now, first time they met, it was a very closely contested fight. Jimi did run away with it. He edged it. But since that point, Jimmy's been brutally knocked out twice, and Jan, he's looking the best he's ever looked. Now they're going to meet in the rematch. Who you got?
Man, Jan's been doing his thing. Guys, we told you, go back to our UFC Winnipeg prediction. We sat there and told you, be very fucking careful playing Cannonier in that fight, because we told you we got... Well, did you bet that fight with Clark? Yeah, I know I did, but I got trapped with Devin Clark against Jan because, of course, you know why we got... why both of us got trapped. I mean, look, Jan was quitting in every single fight before that. And
he was losing to Corey Anderson and Pat Cummins at the time.
Yeah, I mean, he was straight up quitting, hands on his knees in his fights. So, of course, fade him. So, we did that against Devin Clark, and it didn't pan out well. And the week of the fight, I knew I was fucked because I went on Jan's Instagram, and I came to the realization that he was seeing a new Polish doctor, and he was getting, different vitamins pumped inside of him. And, I mean, it's clearly evident. Now, I'm not going to go into details of those accusations, but I mean, it's clear. When you ever seen Jan pushing the pace for 3 rounds? And I mean, look, the one thing I've always said about Jan is, because even all those fights he lost, he would fuck the guy up when he was fresh, and then the second he got tired, then he'd quit. But when he was fresh, he would drop him. I mean, we saw those overhand rights he was landing against Gustafsson.
Stop Latifi.
Corey Anderson, you know what I'm saying? First round, he fucked him up, you know what I'm saying? He's always got the overall skills. And I'm going to actually go ahead and say I think he's the overall better fighter than Jimi Manuwa. I think he's the overall better fighter. I think on the feet, I think Jimmy's got more power. But in terms of the point style and, the style for racking up the points, I like Jan's counters. I like his jab. He got a hard jab and the left kick to follow. The left kick's definitely his best weapon. His wrestling defense is on point. I mean, especially his last 2 fights. But at the same time, Jimi Manuwa does operate on a different frequency than Devin Clark and Jared Cannonier. Those two were prospects. Jimi Manuwa was a vet. But speaking of Jimi Manuwa, his last fight was kind of embarrassing on his part. And, people will be like, how is it embarrassing? Well, the way he was acting the whole lead up to the fight.
As if the fight was already won.
I mean, all week I was just thinking, this guy really thinks like he's getting a title shot like it's about to be nothing.
It was like Melvin Gillard before the Cholos on fight.
Like all his interviews, it was like, I'm about to fight DC and all this shit. You know what I'm saying? And, especially at, how old is he, 35, 36 years old? Like such a letdown like that where you're literally this close. And, I'm not going to knock his wins over Corey, even though everyone knocks out Corey. And OSP showed out a completely out of shape for that fight. Now, someone's going to be like, stop making excuses, da-da-da. But, I mean, it's the facts. Look, like I said before, I know the fight game. I know for a fact OSP was not in shape for that fight. And, granted, I still think Jimi would win that fight if he wasn't in shape or not. Just like I think he'd beat Corey no matter what. But Jan Blachowicz, be very fucking careful parlaying Jimi or playing Jimi straight. Jan's got different Polish vitamins in him, and you don't know what to expect out of the guy because I honestly don't think he's resorting back to his quitting ways anymore. I think he's actually got the cardio support, so I think we are going to start seeing the best of Jan Blachowicz, and I'm going to go ahead and say he pulls off the upset here by finish.
Interesting. Yeah, look, it's going to be a very intriguing rematch because, like I said when I started breaking down this matchup, both their career paths since that first fight have gone opposite ways. But at the same time, when guys go out there and beat Jimi Manuwa, they usually knock him out. We're talking about guys like Anthony Rumble Johnson. We're talking about guys like Alexander Gustafsson. We're talking about guys like Volkan Oezdemir. Granted, that damage to his chin is done. Jimmy is a very chinny guy. They call him Chinny Jimmy for a reason. But my boy Jan, since he's been seeing that new doctor, I mean, he did go out there and just beat 2 prospects back to back. Now those 2 prospects are being fed to other prospects. That's just the fight game for you. But Jan Blachowicz has never been known for knocking people out with his fist. What he's known for is he's got a great body kick. You saw what he did to Latifi. He stopped him there. And I don't think he's going to be able to stop, Jimmy with a body kick. I think he needs to land a left hook. I think he needs to land a big right hand and put him away. And that's definitely a possibility because at this point of Jimmy's chin, he can go down 100%. But that being said, I don't like to rely on one punch. I like to rely on the guy who can win the long-term battle. And even though Jan won his last fight by decision, I think that Jimmy's on a different level than Jared Cannonier, man. And I think that Jimmy is going to find a way to win this fight as well. It's going to be hairy. I think if you're betting Jimi Manuwa, look, the value's on the dog side here. It's a dog or pass situation 100%. But from a pure pick perspective, I'm going to go with Jimi Manuwa here, man.
You know how many decisions Jimi Manuwa's won in his career?
I know that he's 1-0 against Jan Blachowicz when fights go to decision.
The one fight he went to decision was Jan Blachowicz, and he won.
Yeah, he can decision this guy. That's all I know. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Jimi Manuwa here, but it has the potential to get very sketchy, so stay away. Main event of the evening. We got Fabricio Werdum. He's -200. The comeback on Alexander Volkov is +170 now. Volkov's come a long way since his Bellator days, man. I mean, you see the kind of performances he's putting on in the UFC. But now he's got the biggest step up of his career. Who you got?
Volkov has come a long way. He actually was asked about it, what happened in Bellator. He had such great success. This is a guy that at under 25 won 2 Bellator tournaments. Back when the tournament winner used to get $100,000, he won 2 of those. You know what I'm saying? At such a young age.
Imagine being 23, 24 with $200K in that bank.
You know what I'm saying? Plus all the show and win monies, plus the sponsor money. You know what I'm saying?
All the ladies.
Yeah, all the girls. So I think, what he said was that he was too young to handle it, and he wasn't putting in the work. And he said after he got cut from Bellator, he had to reinvent himself back on the local scene, and he worked his way back up into this spot. And I mean, it's a good testament. The thing with Fabricio is, do I like the difference between me and a lot of these guys is I take my, do I like Fabricio as a person? No, you know what I'm saying? I think he's a fucking weirdo, and you know what I'm saying? But skill-wise, I mean, that motherfucker can put on a pace for 5 rounds. Does he really have any real weakness? You know what I'm saying? His wrestling's on point.
His chin.
His chin's, well, every heavyweight's chin, but you know what I'm saying? So if a heavyweight gets clipped on the chin, he might go down. And Fabricio, I think he is hitting a state where he's starting to freeze up on shots. And when I say freeze up, a lot of people don't know what I mean. I'm talking about the Luke Rockhold chin, the Gray Maynard chin. These are the pre-stages of when your chin is starting to deteriorate. You get hit with a shot and you freeze up. You know what I'm saying? My boy Dan knows what I'm talking about. And I think Werdum is hitting that state. It's a case of if Volkov's ready or not. He's going to experience something. Fabricio's going to put pressure on him like he's never experienced before. But I'm not worried about him, getting laid on the fence. This guy has been putting serious work on his wrestling with Kenny Johnson from Black House. Matter of fact, Kenny Johnson actually flew out from Black House to Russia for this entire camp for Volkov, and I think they'll be ready for that game. I mean, his tie-up game's been looking real good. I mean, tell me, I don't think anyone's got him. I think Tim Johnson got him down, but it was right back up. And Werdum's on a completely different level. But I do think Fabricio will get this done. I just think he's just got too many advantages in too many areas. But it's dog or pass for sure, in my opinion, because Volkov's not the type of guy I want to fade right now. Volkov's on the upswing. I think Fabricio's maybe got 1 or 2 good fights left in him. And Volkov's got plenty. So, and the way, speaking of Volkov, the way he beat down Struve his last fight took everything out of Struve. You know what I'm saying? I knew exactly when he finished Struve that Struve was completely done. And that's the type of ass whoopings my boy Volkov can dish out. But my boy Fabricio's got an extensive history for dishing out ass whoopings. So I got to go with Fabricio.
I mean, Fabricio is a legendary fighter. First man to finish Fedor Emelianenko. First man to submit Cain Velasquez. I mean, the dude's literally, he's done everything, man. And he won the UFC title. He knocked out Mark Hunt. So, Fabricio Werdum, he could retire today and be a UFC Hall of Famer. He might arguably be the second greatest heavyweight of all time, right behind Stipe. You know what I'm saying, man? So, Fabricio, you're the fucking man. Now, as far as this matchup's concerned, Alexander Volkov's come a long way. I mean, you recall his fights in Bellator against Czech Congo, against Tony Johnson, against Vitali, and it just wasn't the same guy that we see today. You know, he left a lot to be desired because you'd see this 6'7" heavyweight, you'd be like, man, on the feet, he's knocking these dudes out with head kicks, but then he just gets laid on, and it's just not good. It's like, what's going on? But man, he's fixed up some parts of his game. He's come a long way because in that UFC debut, I know it was kind of ugly against Tim Johnson, but right away I was like, wow, he's come a long way since the Bellator days, man. The kid has improved big time. And since that point, he went in there, he beat Roy Nelson, he beat Struve. Now we get the real step up. Now we get the top 5 guy. Now we get the former champion. Now we got the future Hall of Famer. We got Fabricio Werdum. Now on the feet, look, I think Werdum's actually better everywhere in this matchup, but there were little things in that Tibora fight that made me be like, okay, well, we know with the heavyweights, you get caught on that chin one time, it could be game, set, and match. And if Volkov is able to touch him that one time, it could be game, set, and match. It's just about if he's going to. But that being said, man, this fight hits the mat one time. Don't be surprised when Werdum pulls off a nice guillotine, pulls off a nice Kimura, a fucking knee bar, whatever it takes, an arm bar, anything. He's just that damn good. I mean, Fabricio is literally the best heavyweight jiu-jitsu fighter of all time. And his striking is super underrated. Great knees in the clinch. Great closing of the distance with his straight punches. Good leg kicks as well. So I'm going to go with Fabricio. But, you know, at some point, the older fighters always lose to the younger fighters. I mean, you saw with Ortega and Edgar last week, man. It always happens. So at some point...
I feel like this could also be another fight like Leon and Sobotta. Now, I know Volkov is ranked top 10, I'm assuming. The thing is, Fabricio could have sat out. He could have sat out for a bigger fight.
He could have waited for a title shot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He could have waited for Ngannou or Stipe,
Yeah,
but
Ngannou, yeah.
He wanted to take this fight. He wanted to keep earning money. So much respect. Fighters fight. You know what I'm saying? That's why I respect all these guys. But I'm going to go with Werdum just because I've seen better things from him. But it's not going to surprise me if this is that, you know, crossroads fight where the young guy takes over the vet and stops him. But, you know, I'll go with Fabricio Werdum by submission here. Now, Shaq, before we hit up Big Marley for the Big Marley Minute, they got to go to bestfightpicks.com. They got to go to maxbetseason.com. They got to use the promo code Matador to save 15% off any Best Fight Picks package. We're on a heater right now. 3-event win streak. All undefeated. All clean sweeps. And we're keeping it up this weekend. And most importantly, we're keeping it up at UFC 223, baby.
You know, if you're a guy that's new to betting, you're just a fan, you know, you're just a fan of the podcast and you never put a bet in your life, I'm going to guide you through that complete process. I can tell you exactly how much needs to be played each fight. And it's all about making money at the end of the day. We can't be sleeping on these easy money fights like how this Ankalaev Paul Craig's going to play out. All my European friends, you could have got that line at minus 188 with me. You know what I'm saying? You know, to make money, you got to spend a little money. Free is not good and good is not free. And sign up at Best Fight Picks today. Go ahead and send that email if you have any questions. Follow us at Best Fight Picks Official. We respond to all our messages. And we look forward to helping a lot of people out.
A lot more people out, because a lot of people have already been helped. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. I'm going to put that money in your pocket where, you know, you can go out a couple extra nights a week. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Well, Shaq, let's hit up Big Marley for the Big Marley Minute. And joining us now on the Big Marley Minute is Big Marley himself. Kyle, what's going on, man?
Hey, not much, man. Been sick all week, so gonna tough it through the Big Marley Minute, and then hopefully I'll feel better for these fights and win some money.
Yes, sir. Well, appreciate you toughing it out for us. You know, Big Marley always coming through. And, man, let's get right down to business because this main event between Werdum and Volkov currently got Werdum as 8,600. They got Volkov 7,600. Look, I assume the winner of this fight is going to surpass the salary cap. I know Werdum's better everywhere. It's just about, is he going to get caught or not? You think he's going to get caught here? Or you think he's going to come out here and just show why he's the more well-rounded vet?
I don't know, man. I'm looking forward to seeing where this fight goes. If Werdum tries to get to the ground or if he thinks he's got a shot standing. I think it's going to be a fun fight and pretty close. But I think it would be in Werdum's best interest to get it to the ground and kind of take a Damian Maia approach and just go immediately to the ground, and then that's his ballpark. So I think that's what he should do. So I'm going to say that's what he will do, and I like Werdum in this fight by a submission early in the fight. So I do think he outscores his price tag as well.
So Manuwa and Blachowicz are rematching. The first time they fought was super close, but their careers have gone on two separate paths. Who do you think gets the rematch?
I think, man, I don't know. I like Manuwa a lot, but he's 9K in DraftKings, and in their first fight, he only scored like 52 points. They both had the same amount of strikes. So he got the win, so he had the extra 30. And if it goes the same way and they put the decision over to Blachowicz, then he only scores 52 as well. So I would just rather go with the dog in this one, I guess, or fade the fight altogether. But the pick is Manuwa, but I would rather go Blachowicz and DK.
So Duquesnoy and Terrion Ware, you know for a fact those two are going to throw down. It's going to be a super exciting fight. And I know Duquesnoy's got a lot of hype. I'm not quite sold on him, but at the same time, I'm also not convinced that Terrion's going to get this upset. You leaning a certain way?
Yeah, I like Duquesnoy in this fight. I don't think I'm going to have any Ware this week. I'm not sure if he gets the job done before the fight's over. But, I mean, before the 15 minutes are over, but I am going to go Tom Duquesnoy in this one. I'm going to say knockout, maybe second or third round. I'm not sure how much I'll have in DraftKings, but I just laid down a parlay with him and Dawodu, so I like him to win.
Oh, so I see you like my boy Hakeem Dawodu, huh?
Yeah, I like him to win, too.
You know, that kid, I was really impressed with him in World Series of Fighting. It's good to have him in the UFC finally.
Yeah, I didn't really know about him until I did the film study. And yeah, he looks legit. He looks like he should have already been in the UFC for sure.
So Leon Rocky Edwards versus Peter Sobotta. Look, Peter keeps coming through in spots where I don't expect him to come through. But Leon Edwards, man, he's a consistent winner, and now that he's developing his wrestling skills, he's really gone a long way. Which way are you leaning?
Man, Edwards is my boy. I think other than the Usman fight, I've picked him every single fight. So he's made me a good amount of money, especially on DraftKings. So I got to like him here again, but I think I'm going to go both ways on this fight, maybe get a little bit of both guys because you do got to find the dog somewhere. And Edwards isn't the highest paced guy. He might not get the finish. So if he doesn't get a finish, then at least Sobotta can rack up some points, even with a loss at 7,400. So I like both ways, but the pick is Edwards.
You know, a fight that I really like is Danny Roberts versus Oliver Enkamp. Now, you might disagree with me on this one. I personally don't think Enkamp is ready for this level. I know they have a common opponent, and the fights went the way they went, but MMA math doesn't work, as you know, and I think Oliver Enkamp's probably got to cut his teeth on the regional scene a little bit longer. I'm actually going to go with Danny Hot Chocolate here. You got an opinion on this?
Yeah, I agree. I think Enkamp, he's just got that boy body. I don't think he's ready for the big dogs in the UFC yet, so yeah, I think he takes an L here, goes back to the regional circuit. Maybe he'll come back in a few years.
Yeah, you know who I do like, though? I like Jack Marshman here, man. He's dropping 170 pounds, and I feel like Brad Scott, you know, he's at the tail end, and him dropping to 170 is kind of alarming. So I'm going Marshman via KO. He will definitely make my lineups here, and he's going to make the majority of my lineups, so he better fucking win, Kyle.
Yeah, I like Marshman to win this too, but I do think you do need the knockout for him to pay off his value on DraftKings. I think he can get it, though, but yeah, I like Marshman.
So, last but not least, before I let you go, my man, Magomed Ankalaev. He's taking on Paul Craig, and look, they got Ankalaev 9,200, but if he goes out here, he gets that first round ground and pound stoppage. I mean, he's probably going to pay off that salary cap, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's the biggest favorite on the card, and he's not even the most expensive guy. So, yeah, it's a fade Craig fight here, and he's definitely my pick. And hopefully he does get the knockout so he can pay it off.
Well, Kyle Marley, you are the man. Appreciate you taking the time while you're sick. I hope you feel better, bro. Hopefully that extra cash you win this weekend will, heal those wounds a little bit, because there's nothing like blowing that nose into a $100 bill, Kyle.
Yeah, man, I agree. I can't wait for it. Yeah. Good luck on the fights, man. Hopefully we can win some of that money.
Yes, sir. Make sure you follow this man at Big Marley 3. And Kyle, man, they're making us wait, man. They're fucking spreading this shit out. You know, whoever said there was 11 fights in 11 weeks is full of shit, because we got to wait about 2-3 weeks for UFC 223. But the good news is, when they give us 2 to 3 weeks to get prepared, we better go out there and have a fucking undefeated night, Kyle.
Hey, man, I hear you. Let's do it. Let's win some money, because it would suck to go into this break with a losing night.
Yes, sir. Well, we ain't going to do that. We're about to take this victory. And Kyle, we'll speak soon, brother.
All right, man. Take care.
And it's good to hear from my boy Big Marley. You know, it's been a week. That week off was, I like to grind every single week, but sometimes you need to rest the brain.
We're gonna flip this. We're gonna flip these units, this cash. I mean, we're gonna flip these flip this cash, quicker than Misha flipped to her back, with my boy Johnny. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, these lines are softer than Sarah McMahon in that second round. Softer than Vitor post USADA, so hop on board.
Now, softer than Kylan Kern's UFC career.
You know what I'm saying?
BestFightPicks.com, baby.
Softer than Luke Rockhole's chin. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, man. Softer than Mike Perry when a fight goes to decision.
Exactly. Softer than Mike Perry's fight IQ, you know what I'm saying? Softer than Andre Sukumtouch, just put it that way, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, man. Well, now we got to talk about the fight to watch and the fighter to watch. So, Shaq, what is the fight to watch for UFC London?
Leon Edwards versus Peter Sobotta. I think Peter Sobotta's got a good chance to come in here and take all of Leon's momentum. I mean, look at the wins Leon has. He just hit the top 15, and to be honest, he should have been in the top 15 for a long time. And Peter Sobotta can take all his momentum with this win, and he can become a top 15 guy. And if Leon wins, this just solidifies, hey, I'm for real a top 15 guy. Give me a big fight. He'll definitely get a big fight if he wins this. And Sobotta can take all that momentum, so that's my fight to watch. The Dean Lister black belt versus the new English D1 wrestler. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, 100% that's one of the fights to watch. For me, it's got to be Tom Duquesnoy versus Terrion Ware. I mean, for a fact these two are going to stand and bang for 3 straight rounds. Now, whether someone falls...
Unless someone goes ankle diving. But I know it ain't going to be Terrion.
Oh, man. Look, these two are going to stand and bang. It's going to be very exciting, especially that first round and a half. The fans are going to be screaming. I can't wait to see if someone gets knocked out or it's a 15-minute war. So, Tom Duquesnoy versus Terrion Ware is my fight to watch. Now, Shaq, who is your fighter to watch?
My fighter to watch is going to be Alexander Volkov. I mean, look, if he can get this win, he's the new heavyweight star. He just took out Werdum if he gets the win. Now Russia has a new star. Russia's a booming MMA territory, and I mean, Volkov can be another star. He's actually very talkative on his social media, if they got behind him and promote him. He talks a lot of shit on his Twitter profile, so he's a promotable guy if he can win this fight 6-7 and wins over Werdum and Struve. I think if he wins, there's a new European heavyweight star.
Yeah, my fighter to watch is Jack Marshman. Look, man, the kid's dropping to 170 pounds. We always thought he had a little bit of excess weight there at 185 pounds, and he's always been a knockout artist. I mean, 13 wins via KO. Now he's dropping to 170. If he can add that 14th knockout to his highlight reel and at 170, it might be super emphatic fashion here, man. So I'm going with Jack Marshman for my fighter to watch. Well, Shaq, we did it. It's going down this Saturday in the afternoon on Fight Pass, UFC London. And, man, I'm super excited for this fight. They can follow us at Best Fight Picks Official on Instagram. They can follow me at Best Fight Picks on Twitter. They can follow you at MMA Genius 05 on Twitter. Make sure you subscribe to Half the Battle on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, and Stitcher. Hook up that 5-star review on iTunes, and you take a screenshot of that 5-star review. We'll hook you up with a free bet as always.
Yeah, once again, code Matador, 15% off every package. And UFC 223, and you smelling that? It's smelling like that season.
Smelling like that max bet season,
smelling like that max bet season. UFC 223, man, like I said, these lines are very soft. Softer than Cat's ass was looking out there. You know what I'm saying? These lines are very soft, so hop on board. Send an email, bestfightpicks@gmail.com. We'll go ahead and get you that discount code and hop on board. If you're serious about making money, we're the people to call.
100%. Bestfightpicks.com, maxbetseason.com. Send us a message, bestfightpicks@gmail.com. And until the next time, let's cash these bets.